Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unboxed. I'm so glad to be back with you. As you know, I've spent the last week in Huntsville, Alabama, and I got so much I want to tell you. I shared with you some principles about how we can improve our family by doing family research and better understanding our family. I'm going to talk more about family research in some coming episodes, but today I just want to talk about my experience of going and being with my mother and father, uh, being in the same home with them for the first time in my entire life, how that experience unfolded, share with you a little bit about the background. And then I want to talk about some of the valuable lessons that I have learned about leadership and how you can improve your leadership just by the things that I did with my family this past week. So stick around as we unbox how what we learn from spending time with our family, can really teach us about leadership. You don't want to miss this. I'm Dr. Robert Davis, family life educator and relationship coach, and welcome to Unboxed, a frank and straightforward conversation about relationships. We're going to talk about family, church, workplace, and all other types of relationships. Join me for the next few moments as we unbox the power and potential of relationships and help you to live your best life. All right, everyone, welcome back to Unbox. So glad that you joined us. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. So I want to talk about what I learned from spending the past week with my family. But before I do, I need to give you a little bit of background. My mother has 5 children, and I am the baby boy. So I have 3 older brothers, and I have a younger sister who's 7 years younger than me. So I have a brother who died, who was rather 16 years older than me, another brother who was 8 years older than me. And then I have my brother. He and I have the same father, who is a year and a half older than me. And then I have a younger sister. She and I do not share the same father. She is 7 years younger than me. So I came from a rather large family. That's uh, my mother's side. My father, the only 2 children that he has that we are aware of, is my brother and myself. Now, I have never known, my parents married, of course, before I was born, but I've never known them to actually live together. So from the time that I was a child, they were separated and then ultimately divorced. I remember very clearly they divorced when I was in kindergarten, and I didn't go to kindergarten, but they divorced when I was kindergarten age. Because I remember one time, and just give you a whole bunch of information. I remember one time they had to go to a court proceeding, and so I had to go to a kindergarten class. And I remember all of the emotions, knowing that your parents are divorcing, even though you had no memory of them living together. I was so overwhelmed that I literally cried the entire time that I was at kindergarten class. And I just want to give a shout out to the staff. Now, remember, this was 42 years ago, but I want to give a huge shout out to the staff at the DuPont Park Seventh day Adventist Elementary School, and especially Mrs. Starks. Miss Starks was so patient and kind with me that day, and she treated me so well. I slept, I cried, I ate. Those are the 3 things I did the whole day. Didn't play with nobody, didn't do anything. I slept, I cried, and I ate because I was so overwhelmed. And it's amazing that even when you don't understand, what's really going on within the relationship, how it still has such a profound impact on you, even as a child. And so I just want to say to parents, our emotions and our experiences, and you already know this, but they have profound impacts on our children. Well, anyway, again, they divorced when I was about 5 years old. And so I have no memory. Recently, my father became very sick, and he and my mother, it was a 40-year odyssey, but over 40 years. And when I was a child, let me talk about those 40 years. When I was a child, they had a very hostile, very tense, very toxic relationship, just to use a word that's thrown out there a lot, very toxic relationship. And oftentimes, unfortunately, as children, my brother and I kind of got caught up in the mist. And so, our parents would express their frustration about each other to us. And they didn't ask us to referee their disputes, but we kind of like just got hit with your father is so this and your mother is so that. And so, it's really challenging on a child when, when they kind of are caught in the midst of those things. Parents, don't put your children in the midst of it. Really try to find ways to manage your own stress, tension, worry, and anxiety without dragging them into it. And I hope that the tools I give you over these next several days will do just that. And so, I grew up, my father did not have the emotional resources to be divorced from my mother and to still be a father in our life. So I grew up the majority of my life in Washington, D.C., raised by a single mom. He did not provide either physical support nor financial support. Excuse me. And so it was very challenging being raised up. So as a single mother with 4 and 5 children that you're responsible for, and if you only got 1 or 2 children, being a single mom, being a single parent, period, can be very challenging. And so being poor on top of that, living oftentimes on government assistance, living in poor communities, really did put a stress on our home. And so I would describe our home as a highly anxious environment. Just, man, scratch it and survive. And I really resonate with the Good Time song. Uh, you know, uh, Keeping your head above water, making a way when you can. Those kind of things. Even when I was blessed, raised in the Seventh Day Adventist Church. If you want to go to an Adventist school, the church will find ways. Sponsors will find ways to get you through there. So there were times, period, when I had a chance to attend the DuPont Seventh Day Adventist Church School because people were kind enough to sponsor us and they give us, scholarships and things of that nature. But then there were times when I attended public schools, and no matter what, of course, I lived in the city of DC, so that was kind of challenging of itself. Cutting my teeth in the '80s and coming of age in the '90s. So my home environment, just to kind of focus it back, my home environment again often was stressful. So this was going to be my very first time. It was my very first time actually being in the home with my mother and father because about a year or so ago, as my father took sick, he and my mother apparently over the last several years have reestablished a friendship, a relationship, a cordiality. And he asked my mother to come down and to, help to take care of him. And she agreed to do that. And in order to keep, his property and stuff in his hands, they ended up getting a senior lawyer, elder attorney who advised them. And part of the advice, again, excuse me, I think coming from Alabama back to here has kind of got my throat going. But they advised them to get married for legal reasons. But I'll be honest with you, they are married for a lot more than just legal reasons now. And so over the last 7 or 8 months, they've really become close, and they are married now. So they're married now. They call each other honey and sweetie. For the first time in my life, I've ever seen them kiss. The first time in my life, I've seen them hold hands and just sit around and talk and socialize. My father is bedridden, so my mother is his primary caregiver. It's amazing to watch. And I'm not going to have time to get into it today, but I have some stuff that I want to talk to you about that I learned just by being in that environment, which is something that I really want to hone in on and focus in these next couple of minutes, which is no matter how difficult your family background, no matter how much one of your parents may have abandoned you. And I want to make sure as I say this, I'm not talking about, molestation or things of that nature. I'm just talking about, general challenges, general family dysfunction. That now that you are an adult and you are seeking to be an emotionally mature and emotionally healthy as possible, it is so important that you establish or reestablish or maintain and strengthen your relationship with your parents and with your family members. And I talked about that a lot last week. So this was a journey for me to go home and to reestablish those relationships. Listen, I had some stuff I wanted to share with you, but our time is all the way gone. And so what I'm going to do is, and my son is not here to run the computer, so I'm doing a one-man band show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back next week, and I'm going to come back next time, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I learned. Again, like, subscribe, and share. Be sure to come back next time as I share with you the things that I learned, and let's talk about how we can unbox the power of our leadership and unbox the power and the potential of all of our relationships. All right, y'all take care.
Seasoned with Grace, Unboxed also provides healthy relationship training and leadership development for businesses, churches, and community organizations. For a free consultation to discuss your team's needs, please contact us at our website at swg-unboxed.org. That's swg-unboxed.org.